right, today I'm going to be reading you a couple chapters out of Hour of the Olympics. It's a Magic Treehouse book by Mary Pope Osborne. Have any of you read this book before? Okay, a lot of you. So let's not spoil the book for the rest of us who haven't read it, okay? Okay. All right. Have we talked about a hook yet in class? No? Okay, so a hook is something that an author does to grab your attention so you'll continue reading the book. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so think about other books that you've read. What does an author sometimes do to grab your attention within the first chapter? Do they ask a question that gets you interested? Or what do they do? For the Magic Treehouse, for those of you who have read it, what's that one thing at the last of the first chapter that she always says? Does anyone know? Gracie.
I don't remember.
She sends the treehouse off somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that would be considered a hook for us. That gets us interested in what the kids are going to do, okay? All right. So chapter 1, it's called Just One More. You awake? Annie's voice came out of the dark. Yep, said Jack from his bed. Get up, said Annie. We have to get to the treehouse before sunrise. I'm ready, said Jack. He threw back his covers and jumped out of bed. He was wearing his jeans and t-shirt. You slept in your clothes? Asked Annie. I didn't want to waste any time, said Jack. He pulled on his backpack. Annie laughed. You must really be excited about going to ancient Greece. Yep, said Jack. Do you have your secret library card? Asked Annie. Yeah. Do you? Said Jack. Sure. Put it in your backpack, she said. She handed her card to him. I'll carry the flashlight. All set, said Jack. They tiptoed downstairs and out the door. Outside, the air was fresh and cool. There's no moon, said Annie, just stars. She turned on her flashlight. Ta-da, she said. Let's go. They followed the beam of light across their yard and up the street. Jack was thrilled to be going to ancient Greece, but something worried him. What do you think will happen when we go to ancient Greece? He asked Annie. Is this our last mission ever? Oh, I hope not, said Annie. What do you think? I don't know. Let's ask Morgan, said Jack. Hurry, said Annie. They started running. The flashlight beam flew in front of them, lighting the way. They slowly came to a walk when they got to the Frog Creek woods. The thick woods were pitch black. Annie shined the flashlight upward as they walked between the trees. Finally, they found the magic treehouse. We're here, Annie called. Go on up, said Jack. Annie grabbed the rope ladder and started up. Jack followed. Annie shined the flashlight around the treehouse. Morgan Lee Fay was sitting at the window. She covered her eyes with the light with her face when the light hit her face. Turn off the lights, please, Annie, she said softly. Annie turned it off. Welcome, said Morgan in the dark. Are you ready for your next mission? Yes, said Annie. Then her voice got quiet. This isn't our last one ever, is it? Ask me that question after this mission, said Morgan. We want to go on more, said Jack. You're very brave to say that, said Morgan. You've had 3 very hard journeys as master librarians. Oh, they weren't so hard, said Jack. You risked your life to save the lost story of Hercules, said Morgan. It was nothing, said Annie. And the Chinese story of the silk weaver, said Morgan. And the Irish story of the serpent monster Sarf. Thank you. You're welcome, said Jack and Annie. Now, said Morgan, for the last story. Jack heard a rustling sound. Here is your title, Morgan said. You can shine your light on it, Annie. Annie turned the flashlight back on. She shined it on the paper. Pass around these, because this is what they see on the paper, okay? There's a couple more, just pass them around. Wow, Is that Greek? Asked Jack. It certainly is, said Morgan. She reached under her robe again and pulled out a book. For your research, she said. Jack took the book from her. Annie shined her flashlight on the cover. They read the title, A Day in Ancient Greece. Now what must you always remember? Asked Morgan. Our research book will guide us, said Jack. But in our darkest hour, only the lost story can save us. Morgan nodded. And you must show your secret library cards to the wisest person you meet. Don't worry, we will. Bye, said Annie. Jack shivered with excitement as he pointed at the book's cover. I wish we could go there, he said. And I wish we could go on lots of other missions, Annie added. The wind began to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster, and everything was silent. Absolutely silent. Okay, so before I read chapter 2, Jack and Annie are going to ancient Greece. What can be inferred from the word ancient? Is it in the past or in the future? What do you think, Alexis? In the past, yes, exactly. Okay, so chapter 2. Any girls here? Jack opened his eyes. Warm sunshine streamed into the treehouse. We sure don't need the flashlight here, he said. Look, Morgan gave us clothes like the ones we wore in Pompeii, said Annie. Jack looked down. His clothes were similar to the ones he'd worn in the Roman town of Pompeii, a tunic and sandals. He also had a leather bag in place of his backpack again. Annie looked out the window. And we landed in an olive tree, just like Pompeii, said Annie. Jack looked out the window. He caught his breath. Are we in the wrong place? He asked. I don't know, said Annie. Look past the trees. Doesn't it look like a big fair? Jack looked. Annie was right. Past the olive grove was a field filled with white tents. Beyond the field were red brick buildings with columns and huge crowds of people. What's going on? Jack asked. He pulled the research book out of his leather bag. He found a picture of the scene outside. Below the picture were these words. The Olympic Games began in ancient Greece over 2,500 years ago. Every 4 years, more than 40,000 people traveled to Olympia, the town where the festival of athletic games took place. Oh man, Jack whispered. We're at the ancient Olympics. Cool, said Annie. Jack wrote in his notebook, Olympia, first Olympics take place. Come on, let's go watch, Annie said. She started down the rope ladder. Jack threw his notebook and the research book into his leather bag. Don't forget, we have to get Morgan's story too, he said as he followed Annie. Annie waited as Jack stepped to the ground. Then they walked through the olive grove to where the tents were. Jack heard pipe music and smelled food roasting over fires. Groups of men talked excitedly to one another. That's funny, said Annie. I don't see any girls here. Oh, sure, there's girls, said Jack. Where? Show me, said Annie. Jack looked around, but he only saw men and boys. No women or girls at all. Then he saw an outdoor theater. A woman was standing on the stage. She had yellow hair and a purple tunic. There, said Jack, pointing. What's she doing? Asked Annie. A soldier was on stage with her. He wore a long cape. A helmet with a red crest hid his face. The woman and the soldier were waving their arms and talking loudly to each other. I think they're doing a play, said Jack. I'll look. He pulled out the Greek book and found a picture of the theater. This is what they saw. Listen, he said. He read aloud. The Greeks were the first to write plays. Many English words for theater come from Greek words, such as drama, scenery, and chorus. Many Greek plays are still performed today. Hey, Jack, said Annie, you're wrong. When Jack looked up, he saw the woman had pulled off her wig. It was a boy dressed up as a woman. See, even she's a boy, said Annie. That's weird. Said Jack. He went on reading. A few actors would play many different parts in the same play. Women were not allowed to act, and so men played the female roles too. That's not fair, said Annie. What if a woman wanted to be in a play? Don't worry about it, said Jack. He put the book away. Let's just take a peek at the Olympics, then find our story. He nudged Annie to move along. Just then he heard a voice. Wait! They turned around. A man with a short white beard was walking towards them. Hello, said the man. He was looking right at Annie. Who are you? Who are you? Annie asked boldly. And that's all we have for today. So, if you want to continue reading this, it'll be on Miss Wiggins' shelf back there, okay? Now our last question before I have you fill out a worksheet is, I just want some answers on how Jack and Annie's story right now can be related back to your life. Compare your life to theirs. What's similar? Titan. Do you have any siblings?
Siblings and a treehouse.
Do you have a treehouse too? Yes, that's one way it could be similar.
I have 3 other siblings.
You have 3 other siblings.
And
Okay.
I have a treehouse.
And you have a treehouse. All right. Last one, Justice.
I have 4 other siblings.
You have 4 other siblings. Okay. All right. Well, now I will have you go back to your seats and I will pass out a worksheet.